Ready? Go!
Did that hit should be an easy question to answer. It's in pretty much every video game that involves hitting something or hitting someone. It's a simple yes or no question, perhaps the question a fighting game is best fit to answer repeatedly. Yet, somehow, in a fighting game that is renowned for its technical depth, Super Smash Bros. Melee asked the absolutely crazy question of, what if there was a secret third option? This is what the Melee community usually calls a phantom hit, and today we're going to talk about what causes them, why they're so routinely misunderstood to be a bug, whether or not we can do anything to prevent them, and the more philosophical question of whether or not we should. But do you know what shouldn't be phantomly? Phantom-like? Ghostly? Yep, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, the answer is your expenses, and that is exactly why I'm excited to tell you about Rocket Money, who is paid to be mentioned in today's video. It's that time of year when your spending has likely increased. Maybe you're like me and had to have your gallbladder removed, or maybe you're just like a normal guy who spends money and sometimes has trouble with budgeting. My favorite feature of Rocket Money is that it gives me a top-down overview of all of my income and expenses, so that's money going in and money going out, since, you know, I'm like a super rich and bougie YouTuber guy. Rocket Money's claim to fame, though, is their ability to track and manage subscriptions. Check this out. Just by connecting my checking or savings account, Rocket Money can see I pay for a channel membership for, say, World Chase Tag, and it allows me to stay on top of any paid subscriptions I might have forgotten about. They offer an easy way to cancel subscriptions within the app, and you can even use Rocket Money's experts to negotiate bills with certain providers, and this is a real service I used for my dad, by the way, who doesn't really know how phones work, so it saved him a pretty significant amount of money for almost no work on his side. So if you're interested in getting a bit more control over your finances, you can get a free premium trial when you sign up with my link at rocketmoney.com/turndownforwalt, or just scan the QR code right here. Thanks again to Rocket Money for supporting me, my technologically clumsy father, and this channel, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. But before we can answer the question of what is a phantom hit, we have to answer the more simple question of what is a regular hit. Every character has what's called a hurt box, which is where you can hit them. Every single move in the game draws a hitbox on the screen, which is what actually hits the opponents. Then when a hitbox and hurtbox really love each other, okay, no. When a hitbox and a hurtbox overlap, a hit is registered in a game. The fact that hitboxes and hurtboxes don't always perfectly match their models and animations is why you'll occasionally see hits that don't really look like they make any sense. Like this. The phantom hit occurs when the overlap between the hitbox and hurtbox is so close to almost be tangential. How close? In Melee and all Smash games since, there's a default unit of measurement used to determine things like hitbox sizes and stage sizes. This unit is about 0.01 Melee meters, we'll call it, since actual metric system units like meters don't really exist in this video game space, which makes most characters between 10 and 20 units tall. For a phantom hit to occur, the overlap between hitbox and hurtbox has to be within 0.01 units. For reference, that's about 1/1000th the size of even the smaller characters in this game. This quite ridiculously small window means that phantom hits happen so rarely that you could play dozens, if not hundreds of games without seeing one, and if you did, you could very well think that it was a glitch or a bug, especially given the occasionally glitchy nature of Melee.
Go up 2-0. For the first time, could we see... Oh! What the hell? Whoa!
This game exhibits some unintentional behavior from time to time, sure, and phantom hits sure look like some kind of ghost coming up from the depths of Melee's code. Because why would it make sense to hit them, but also not? Phantom hits deal damage like you hit the opponent, but only half. They put the opponent into a freeze state called hit lag as if you hit them, but you don't suffer it yourself like you're supposed to during a normal hit. You deal damage like you hit the opponent, but they don't take any knockback. It can be really confusing and leave even the most experienced and studied Melee players of all time like, what the f just happened? A lot of people think phantom hits are the result of a bug. This is, in actuality, code working as intended, so a feature, I guess? The mechanic is actually still in the Smash games that have come out since Melee, just in a much less disruptive fashion. The mechanic, now officially named glancing blows, happens much more often, with a 10 times bigger overlap range compared to Melee's phantoms. But in the games from Brawl onward, all that happens is a little spark flies off the opponent and a sound is made. No damage, no weird weird hit lag, nothing like that. So if you've played a lot of those games, you've probably seen a ton of these glancing blows without ever really noticing, because they actually have no impact on gameplay whatsoever. But in Melee, phantom hits aren't just a funny piece of trivia. Phantom hits have been a very big deal in very big competitive matches played for pretty decent amounts of money. This set between Mewtwo King and Mango was in the final bracket of one of the biggest tournaments of that year, and it's still happening. I got the idea to make this video after seeing it happen to Hungrybox in his loss to Axe at Riptide, which I covered back in October.
He's always just leaning back. Yeah, double laser there.
Drill.
Drill.
Oh,
Phantom Rest!
Because of how small Jigglypuff's rest hitbox is, it's much easier to phantom with it than the typical attack. It's also the most noticeable phantom hit because it still produces the iconic hit sound effect and still sets the opponent on fire. Plus, given Rest's whole all or nothing deal, it's also one of the most pivotal phantom hits possible because it's usually a full 2-stock swing. Instead of Jigglypuff taking a stock herself, she dies. But she's not the only one who has to deal with it. As Uncle Punch pointed out in a blog post about the phenomenon, Fiction had a victory over Zane snatched away from him by a phantom hit at Genesis 6. It's especially noticeable when Shine phantom hits because you still see the electric effect from the hit, but there's Marth still holding the ledge like nothing even happened. As Uncle Punch points out in the same blog post, this specific phantom hit happened because of yet another quirk with how phantom hits are registered. The Shine looks pretty clearly like it's covering more of Marth's body than 0.01 units, and it is, just not the right part. You see, each character's hurt box is actually made up of a bunch of smaller hurt boxes pieced together, kind of like a skeleton. When the game calculates if a phantom hit occurs, it checks each of these pieces individually and in a specific order. If hurt box 1, which usually happens to be the central body of each character, as it is for Marth, was phantom hit, it doesn't matter if it would have been a clean hit on hurt boxes 2 and onward. The game's already made up its mind, and Zane was able to grab the ledge. There is yet more to the mechanics of phantom hits, and I've linked Uncle Punch's post in the description if you want the technical details. But this aspect is what really makes phantom hits feel so unfair. If it was really just the outer 0.01 units of every character that triggered a phantom hit, it would be one thing, and it still wouldn't feel good, but when a phantom hit is decided by hurtbox priority despite the hitbox cleanly hitting other parts of the character, it feels like a robbery. Phantom hits aren't a bug, and are instead an intentional mechanic. That doesn't mean that it's a mechanic that even the most precise Melee players are meaningfully engaging with. There are actually some potential use cases of phantom hits if you could do them intentionally. You could deal damage to opponents in states like Shield Break or Jigglypuff's rest cooldown with phantom hits without waking them up, thanks to the fact that phantom hits don't deal any knockback. And this has actually happened in competitive Melee before, but I think you can tell here that this from Leffen was not intentional just from the player cams alone. This isn't really a mechanic that can be that intentionally exploited or even intentionally played around. They're kind of total accidents that have the capability of deciding games. So why do we deal with it? This is the exact kind of randomness, the exact kind of luck factor that competitive Melee has been working to eliminate for years now. The stage list has been pared down to just 6 stages for the exact same reason. Sometimes, look away Nintendo, we've even been willing to rewrite the game's code, most notably to prevent Pokemon Stadium transformations from activating. This isn't something that would be too difficult to do, by the way. By changing the value that sets the overlap range for phantom hits from 0.01 units to 0, you would make them impossible to trigger. Simple as that. No more phantom hits, ever. If that sounds too extreme, there's a version that Uncle Punch coded that would only fix the hurtbox priority issue. It would make it so that the Fiction versus Zane situation, where a phantom hit registered only because of the order in which hurtboxes check for phantoms, would no longer occur. In the Uncle Punch version, that shine would instead register as a regular hit. In the case of a true phantom hit where the hitbox really only overlapped with 0.01 units of any hurtbox, Uncle Punch's version would still register it as a phantom hit. Melee's code isn't so sacred that we're above changing it when we need to for competition's sake. UCF makes it so players aren't at the mercy of a controller lottery to get clean movement. Frozen Stadium got rid of some very janky stage transformations, and perhaps more importantly, sequences where players just sat on either end of the stage for like 30 seconds waiting for the stage to go back to normal. So why hasn't there been a larger movement to make an anti-phantom mod the new competitive standard? Like I said, Awesome Sauce made a video that mentioned how easy it would be to tweak one singular value and remove phantom hits entirely, and that was back in 2022. Uncle Punch's blog post and code that fixed that hurtbox priority issue came out the same year. Melee discourse, something that happens more than my parents call me, has already ensued about phantom hits and how stupid they are, and those date back to at least 2010 on Smash boards just from a quick search. So surely this debate goes back even further. But the responses to the idea of modding out phantom hits has been met by a mixed reaction at best. For some people, modding the way the game resolves a hit is crossing a line that modding controller behavior or stage behavior doesn't. The anti-mod take was most succinctly summed up in a reply to Uncle Punch's post from Reddit user Probable Foreigner. In it they say, "I support fixes to make controllers equal. The need to make controllers equal by changing the software makes sense to lower the cost of entry and to remove the unfair advantage of having a good controller. I also support freezing Stadium because that is just adding a new stage to the game, but the game's mechanics are unchanged. However, I wouldn't support this becoming the standard because it is part of the game's core mechanics." Another simpler take that can't be ignored from user Critical Moose: "I like phantom hits." Thank you, Critical Moose. I do too. But it was split. Others had been burned enough by phantom rests and would be more than happy to see them go. Unsurprisingly, there are also some top players with strong opinions on the matter. While phantom hits can definitely be annoying, I've personally always found the little bits of variance that they add to be a part of what makes Melee so beautiful. They might not be the ideal way to determine the best fighter, but they definitely make for some hype moments. While I can definitely feel for competitors who get burned by them, I certainly don't think they need to be modded out of the game. But what do you think? I posed the question to my YouTube community, and unsurprisingly, the responses were a mixed bag. Some people hate the way they impact competitive play. Even some of the people who dislike phantom hits in theory admit they bring something interesting to the game. The most liked comment on my community post brings up something worth considering, and that's you guys, the viewer experience. But honestly, the most common sentiment seemed to be something like this. Of course, I'd love to know what you think, if phantom hits are worth modding out, or if Melee is better for the presence of these little glitches in its system. So let me know what you think and keep the discussion going in the comments below, because that's good engagement and it'll, the video will do good, and yeah, you should do that. Anyway, have you seen my sub count recently? It's almost like I'm phantom hitting 200,000 subscribers. I'm done. I'm gonna go. Okay, thanks for watching. Hey, just wanted to say, if you guys have been keeping up with me in these little outro segments, that this is one of the first pieces that we're putting out with the new editing team that I had hired, so show them some love in the comments. We're gonna keep on working to make it a pretty consistent visual language, and hopefully you guys like the consistent outpouring of content that we're gonna be working on for now and the next year and the foreseeable future. The best way to do so is through Patreon. I reinvest pretty much every single dollar that I get there into expenditures like these, so thank you to you guys for sticking around with me for this long, and big ups to you guys for helping us get to over 150k subscribers. I know I didn't really bring that up before, but that's really awesome to me, so hopefully we can get to 200k soon. Thank you to my top tier patrons and YouTube members: Avishua Stein, Bobby Wasabi, Brent Mukai, Dark Genix, Eric is Cool, Gustavo Cantu Fernandez, James Fabman, Justin Duncan Mills, Kyle Carlin, Marshall Bradley, and Sam Wright.